Dark Factory. I did a live stream just like a week ago where I started building it, and now it's done. So I get to show you guys it in action today. We'll work through some issues and continue to get the application that the Dark Factory is working on built out. But I get to show you guys more of a demonstration of the Dark Factory now instead of just building the underlying infrastructure like I was doing in the last live stream. So I'm gonna go ahead and move my OBS over, switch scenes. And yeah, so I got my chat open on the left-hand side here to see the comments from all you lovely folks. And yeah, then I'll be building on my main monitor here, and then I got my recording software on the right-hand side. So, all right, hope you guys are doing well. Happy Saturday to everyone who's here right now. I didn't really do any kind of like announcement for this live stream. It's like super ad hoc, so it'll probably be smaller, but that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, this is the Dark Factory right here. The repository where I'm building an agentic application where it's basically RAG over my YouTube content. And then I'm also planning on like bringing in like my course and workshop stuff from Dynamis at some point as well. So it's a real application behind the Dark Factory, but AI is building everything. I don't review any of the code that gets merged right into the main branch, and I am not doing any of the deployments. I have not written a single line of code in this repository, and we're building out this application here, which yeah, I mean, in the middle of building a bunch of things, so it's like broken right now. But well, let's see. If I send in a message here, I'm gonna see if this actually works. I think I just had to do a refresh. Oh yeah, okay, it's working. So this is like what it looks like right now. It's kind of just like, you know, basic chat GPT application with some RAG, but we're gonna keep building this out today. And the way that we're gonna do it is we are literally just going to file a bunch of issues. So this is the entry point into the Dark Factory. Whenever there's a bug or something that we want to build, we just dump it here into the factory. And then I have the whole factory hosted in a VPS where it runs on a scheduled basis to look at my issues here. And then it essentially triages them, right? Like this one is now in progress. This one's accepted. So it'll be picked up on the next orchestration run. And every single one of these workflows or these issues are handled by an Archon workflow. And so Archon, let me go to the README for Archon. This is my open source harness builder. So you take any AI coding process and allows you to package it up into a YAML workflow. So you can run this across all your code bases. You can even run it in parallel because Archon supports work trees and isolation. That's how I'm able to handle all of these issues. And so behind the scenes, I've like built up this process of like, here's how I want to triage issues, like labeling them. Here's how I want to implement them. Here's how I want to, you know, validate the pull requests. And then the Archon workflows will even handle merging things into main and doing the full deployment. And so my entire process package up as Archon workflows running behind the scenes here. And so the last live stream on my channel, I showed what that looked like. I actually like built out some of the initial workflows for Archon, and now I've worked on it. I've actually worked very hard on this over the week, just behind the scenes here, getting it to the point where it's running now. Like I can file an issue and it is going to handle it all the way to deployment. So if I see a problem, I put something here, and then within the next, you know, hour or two, as the factory picks up and addresses this thing and validates the pull request and merges it, then I'll actually see the changes live in the web UI that is hosted right here. And it's not really like ready to be public yet. So I call this a public experiment because the Dark Factory I'm building in public, but at some point it'll be like I'm opening this up to everyone to file issues and have the Dark Factory like take suggestions from all of you, not just me. So we're gonna get there pretty quick, and maybe even after the live stream we'll be ready. Oh, we'll see. We'll have to do some experimentation here. Yeah, good to see you guys. Good morning. Good morning. Happy weekend. Hey everyone, appreciate you guys stopping into the live stream here. So yeah, every time there's a comment in the chat, I can like show it up on the screen like you guys are seeing right now. All right, cool. So yeah, for today, it's going to be a pretty casual live stream. My plan is to really just like continue to build out the Dark Factory and show you guys what the working system looks like how I identify problems and put it as an issue and then see it like automatically address these things. And then while we're waiting for the Dark Factory to run, there's going to be some time for, just me to chat with you guys for some Q&A on Archon or the Dark Factory or anything in AI. And then I also might work on Archon itself, just doing some live building for Archon in the stream today as well. So there's no like super clear agenda for today. I just want to do more live streaming in general. And just build in public, like whatever I'm working on for the day, just show you guys like how I'm doing agentic coding right now and how I'm building out Archon and the Dark Factory. So hope that you find it interesting and are down to come along for the ride here. So I'm going to pop open my repository, see where we're currently at. So I have it doing some things actively right now, actually. There's a couple of bugs. I'm trying to get it so that the RAG pipeline will actually ingest my YouTube videos. So there are some things that the factory can't actually manage because it has to deal with the underlying infrastructure that I don't want the factory to change itself. So right now, as I'm building the initial version of the repository in the application, I am using Claude Code on my computer for some things. But once I have the core infrastructure set up, and like I said, that could be after the live stream today, then I am going to get to the point where I hand things over entirely to the Dark Factory. So there's a little bit of like me going back and forth with Claude as I get things set up, but at some point it'll be like the only way I ever improve the code base is through submitting an issue. So we'll get there. So yeah, this is in the middle of running right now. But even while this is running and fixing things, I want to show you guys how simple it is to just like identify some problems here, put it as a GitHub issue, and then just see it start to go through them. And so our application right now, here I'll zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. There are some things that are like clearly not perfect. Like for example, there's like an awkward amount of margin above the chat input here. The export button is like kind of hard to see. Like there's some UI things. There's no way to like collapse the sidebar. And the conversation name, there's no like automatic naming of the conversation, right? Like there are definitely some things that aren't perfect yet. And so what I can do is just identify those things myself and then like just have my Claude Code create GitHub issues. Seriously, like it's watch this. I'm gonna just poke around the platform right now with my speech to text tool active. I'm going to describe the problems as I see them. I'm going to then dump it into Claude Code and then just say like, I want you to make GitHub issues for the repository for every single one of them. So let me pop up, I'm gonna grab the path to the repo here. So I'm gonna say, okay, what I'm about to do here is I'm going to test out this application. And I'm going to identify all of the problems that I see with it. I want you to file an individual GitHub issue for each one of the problems that I see. And maybe you can work with me to group some of the problems as well, just so that we don't have too many issues. And so I'm going to give you a big brain dump of all the problems for this code base. And I want you to help me think about how to group them. And then you'll use the GitHub CLI to create these issues in the Dark Factory repository. All right, so I'll send that off as kind of like the initial context here, right? And then I'll do my brain dump right now. So let's go over to the application, and I'll activate my speech to text tool. All right, so the first thing that I've noticed is there's some issues with the user interface. So for example, the placeholder text in the chat input, there's a little bit too much space above. Like I want my text in the chat input to be vertically centered, but right now it's not. And then within an individual conversation, once I send in a message, the export button in the top right is kind of hard to see. And we have like the first user input like directly underneath, and so it just doesn't look the best. And then also, whenever I send in a message to the AI agent, and it's like a longer message that requires some scrolling, it doesn't like automatically scroll down to the bottom of the chat. Like I want it to automatically scroll as input is coming in, unless I'm already scrolled up in the chat interface. So just kind of how like any chat platform will usually work. And then let's see. The other thing I noticed is that for some reason, like the automatic naming of conversation seems to be broken until I start a new conversation. So if I click a message or I send in a message, I get the response from the agent, it still says that I'm on new conversation. Right, and then when there's the scrolling issue right there, so it doesn't automatically scroll. But anyway, and then when I click on new chat, only when I click on new chat does the other conversation get a name. And then I move on to the new chat that says new conversation. So that's broken as well. Okay, let's actually just start with those. So I know it's just kind of like little random things that I'm identifying right now. But I just want to have like a basic example for at least a couple of issues so we can have something sent into the Dark Factory to kick us off here. All right. Let's see. You said the Dark Factory pulls the issues periodically. Why not spawn an agent when there's a new issue? Yeah, so I wanted to set up a triaging process. And what I mean by triage is like we identify what we should work on based on an entire group of issues. And the reason I want to do that is because it can be beneficial to have the context of a lot of different issues together instead of addressing each one individually. For example, if many different people have submitted the same issue, that means that it should probably be very high priority, right? Like that's signal that like, okay, we should address this if there's a few issues with a very similar thing. So that can be helpful, just providing direction to the agent on priority. And then the other thing is when you get like a overall view of like, you know, in the last 4 hours, these are the 10 issues that were given. If you're like kind of comparing priority between them, that can help you know like what one you should work on. Because if I just address them as they come in, what if there's like 2 super low priority issues that come in and then my agent is stuck working on those? Because I only want to like do so much at once just for the sake of token usage. I want to be careful on that. So then like what happens if the next issue comes in and it's like super high priority urgent, but then the agent is busy working on the other ones. Like that's kind of why I want it to batch for the sake of efficiency and just like having a better idea of like what's actually priority. Yeah. Thank you for creating all this content for us. You're very welcome. It is my pleasure. I'm super excited to be building this Dark Factory right now. It's like kind of a wild public experiment. We'll see how far I'll take this thing, but I'm from my testing as I've been building it out this week, it's working really well. It's able to handle things end to end, and you'll see later in the stream, hopefully, that I have browser automation set up with the PR validation workflow, so it'll like click around the website and like actually test it as a user would autonomously. It's so cool. All right. As you go through, comment on how auto search may or may not have influenced your design or auto research. Okay, so I haven't actually taken much inspiration from auto research for the Dark Factory. Now, Karpathy's auto research is a very cool idea. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't quite apply because I guess there are some other things for the Dark Factory that I have taken inspiration from. So, for example, if I just go to Google here, Strong DM Dark Factory. Strong DM, they haven't open sourced their Dark Factory like I'm doing, but they have some blog posts where they talk about it. And so I'm going to copy this. I'll just like put this in the YouTube chat really quick. If you're interested to read up on sort of like the original Dark Factory, they talk about their holdout pattern and some strategies for validation that I've taken inspiration from. So I've definitely taken inspiration from some things, but I wouldn't really say that auto research is one of those that would apply to Dark Factory. I mean, you could apply it. I feel like it'd be a little bit of a stretch though. All right. So anyway, 5 issues, all UI UX. We got chat input, export, auto scroll, conversation, auto naming. That's all that I have for now. Let's go ahead and group them. Just like, 2 to 3 issues that we want to file here. Because I want to at least show, I mean, we could maybe knock all these out in a single issue, but I just want to show you guys what it looks like to send off a couple into the factory at once and watch it process them over time. So one thing that I've realized, it's a little unfortunate with my Dark Factory is I have it hosted on a VPS that only has 4 gigabytes of RAM. And so once it gets to the browser automation where it's spinning up browsers, I run out of memory and CPU if I have a lot going in parallel. So Archon does allow me to have any amount of issues being addressed in parallel. Like I've done 10 at the same time on my computer, but for the VPS I can only do like one or two at the same time. But I'm also fine with that because I don't want to like spend millions and millions of tokens all at once anyway. So okay, here's our proposed grouping into 3 issues. We have the chat view, auto scroll, and conversation auto naming. Yeah, so yeah, go ahead and file these GitHub issues. All right, so we'll see them pop up. And then what I'll do, just for the sake of demo here, is I will ask Claude Code to invoke the orchestrator so that we can see it kick off right away. Usually, though, I have it like firing every half hour right now. So I've been playing around with like different increments. I think when this is actually deployed to production, or like when this is a fully public experiment and it's ready to go, then I'll probably have the orchestrator run like every 4 hours, right? So we have batches of issues and we can identify the ones that we want to address versus close. All right, so let's take a look. Go back to issues here. All right, so there we go. We got a couple new ones now. And then one more coming in just a second. The other thing I can show is, so for the Dark Factory, I know that like I haven't given like a full introduction because I just want to like, build in public with you guys right now and not like spend the whole live stream explaining everything. But one thing that is cool that I am doing is I actually have Claude Code pointing to Minimax M2.7 on the VPS. So the Dark Factory is running entirely through Minimax M2.7. I would hit my Anthropic rate limits way too fast if I had the Dark Factory running on my Anthropic subscription. Plus, I think it's against Anthropic terms of service. If the public experiment allows anyone to create an issue, and then my Dark Factory automatically picks it up, because I think technically that would mean that other people are directly using my Anthropic subscription. So I have Claude Code routed to Minimax. So we'll see this balance tick down. I've already spent $80 on API credits. Well, I guess not 80 because I have 25 left. But yeah, I've spent $55 already on Minimax M2.7 API credits just as I've been testing things, because I've spent like millions of tokens already, like millions and millions of tokens as I've been building this up, testing different workflows and things like that. So yeah, I've been spending so much time on this week. Okay, so let's go back to issues here. So we got 3 now, looking good. So if I go back, the other like really important piece of context that I have in my second brain vault here is my Dark Factory plan. So this is like a super long document where I've been outlining everything that I'm building, all my Archon workflows and how I'm organizing the Dark Factory and the status of things, like the different phases as I built it out. So this is like my master context that I like dumping into Claude. So like I'll just give it this file, and that way it knows like how to SSH into my VPS. It knows how to work with the orchestrator. So that's why I'm giving it here. So I'm giving it the plan. I'll say, read the plan. And then what I want you to do is SSH into the Dark Factory VPS and just make the orchestrator fire right now so that we triage all of the issues we just created. And again, if I didn't do this myself right now, it would happen automatically just within the next half hour. But obviously I want this to be a real-time demo right now. All right, cool. And then I'm just going to go look at my other chat that I had going before the stream here. Okay, let's see. Heads up, video titles are placeholder because channels.py instead of, okay. Fix the title thing right now. I just want this to run in the background to finish up some of the stuff that I was doing earlier. Okay, so firing the orchestrator now. It dispatches 1 workflow per run. So with 3 fresh untriaged issues, it should land on triage. All right, very cool. And then within my Claude Code running locally, I can also have it monitor the Archon workflows that are running in the VPS. And so I don't really have much visibility into it outside of that, but that's really all I need. I want this to just run in the background. So I'm not like hosting the Archon web UI or anything there. I do have the web UI running locally for my Archon running on my computer. Oh, that's the wrong port. Hold on, let me fix that. There we go. So I have my Archon running locally, but you'll see that like I don't have any workflows running right now. Besides this one, I'll just delete that because oh, hold on, I'm not on the right branch right now. Anyway, I have this running locally, but this isn't where the workflows are running because I have my Claude code SSH'd into the VPS where it's running things. So we'll take a look. Orchestrator fired. Oh yeah, okay. So it picked up a pull work or an issue instead of triaging because I had a different issue open already. So I think it picked up this one, or no, I think it reviewed a pull request. Oh yeah. So it decided to do this. So whenever the factory runs, it figures out like what's my next task. Should I review a pull request? Should I handle an issue? Should I triage? What should I do? Right. So I think right now it decided that it's going to review this pull request. Because like I said, I don't want too much going on in parallel just for the sake of token efficiency, because it'll start to burn through credits as we have a lot happening. So if I refresh here, you can see it went down from 68 cents to 59. That's how I know that the workflow is currently working with Minimax M2.7 on the VPS. And we can also just ask it as well. No, we don't need to kick off Dark Factory triage. In fact, I want you to look at the Archon workflow as it's running. Give me a status update on it. So we can just peer into the SSH with the help of Claude Code. We never have to even go into it myself. Like I literally don't have a connection open to the machine on my computer myself. I'm just going to let Claude take care of it all. All right, so we'll see in a second. I can do Control O so we can see like what the logs are under the hood. Quite a bit of information here. So yeah, you can see that it used or just read the log file directly, because every single Archon workflow will go to the logs. So Control O to take it out. All right, so phase one, reviewing, the reviewer finished, conflicting verdicts. So one of the reviews, okay, for a security check, it actually said it failed, okay. So the security reviewer is likely to be dispositive. It flagged PR47 as touch 3 protected files. Which, I mean, I told the factory not to edit these files, but I actually edited it myself, right? Like I said, I'm not having the Dark Factory run everything as I'm building it out right now. So yeah, hopefully it'll be good and it'll merge the pull request. But that actually might be a pull request I more need to merge myself. Now that I think about it, yeah, because I created this myself, I should have reviewed it myself. Interesting. Okay, I might need to ask it about this one as well, because I needed to merge this one, because these are things I was working on before by myself, so I need to take care of this by myself as well. Okay, pull requests 73 and 74 I actually built myself because it touches these protected files. So I think it'd actually make more sense if you review these and merge these, and then we would just move on to triaging the other issues. Yeah, I just wanted to take care of it here. All right, anyway, let's see what else we got in the chat from you guys here. I've been building my own Dark Factory for almost a month. Had an agent help me plan, break the plan out into phases and subphases, and Pi agents code and review. That is super cool. Yeah, so we actually added Pi support for Archon like just yesterday. So Pi is a pretty awesome coding agent. It's very cool. Seems like a better way to automate to-dos using GitHub than my homemade to-do Kanban. I mean, if you have something that works well for you already, I would say go for it. But I personally do love using GitHub issues to manage any kind of repository, because there's just so much infrastructure built into GitHub already, like with the GitHub CLI and webhooks and GitHub Actions, that I actually do quite like managing everything just through this. Like, this is my entry point to talk to an agent when there's a problem or a new feature that I want in my code base. Would be cool to have it create a preview ephemeral environment to get a user's feedback pre-PR merge. Yeah, so that is a cool idea. I would say that goes against the goal of the Dark Factory, though. Because, okay, let me be transparent with you. Like, the Dark Factory is not the way to have the most reliable AI coding setup. You definitely want human in the loop when you really are trying to produce the most production quality code possible. That's why I call this an experiment. I'm not trying to optimize here. I'm trying to push the limits of what is possible with coding agents. And at some point, maybe even this year or next year, who knows, we're going to have the harnesses and LLMs get to the point where this is optimal, to have no human review at all. But like right now, this is just an experiment. So Igor, like definitely if I were to create a version of the Dark Factory that's a bit more toned down to be more reliable, your idea is fantastic. That would be super cool. So not something I would build right now for the sake of the experiment, but one of the other things I am thinking about with this whole Dark Factory experiment is I just want to see how far I can take it, see what kind of reliability issues come up when I have no human review at all, and then just kind of play around with like how can we build the validation in a way where like that actually works. And then from the lessons that I take away from this, I can figure out like, okay, how much do I need to dial it back to make it work well? Like where would I have to add human in the loop? Like before a pull request merge, or after a plan is created before it goes in implementation, like those kinds of things. And then at that point, that's when I'd be thinking about ideas like that. All right, cool. So let's go back to my code base here. All right. Anything else to do here? All right. I think it's working. Okay, yeah. So it's taking care of these other pull requests for me, because then we can triage some of the ones that I have created just now. So okay, yeah. This is done, and then issue list. Okay, good. So now we're looking really clean. So let me actually go back. Okay, so the queue state, factory accepted, untriaged. So firing the orchestrator now dispatches the Dark Factory fixed GitHub issue for 27, not triage. Triage only runs after that whole chain clears, right? So it kind of has a priority order of like, let's handle ones that are already triaged, and then if there's nothing there, then we can go to these ones. So let's actually... trying to think what I want to do with this, because this one's like super low priority. Let's actually remove the labels for issue number 27 so that we're triaging all 4 from scratch. And then I want you to send off the orchestrator to triage everything. All right, there we go. Let's do it this way. So I'm just trying to, it's a little bit of like artificial, let's edit some things and take care of some pull requests so I can get it down into the environment where I can show you guys it operating from scratch here. Okay, so there we go. Now if I refresh, we got a blank slate, no labels. We'll start triaging everything with Minimax M2.7 in the VPS. Cool. So, yep, Dark Factory triage is running, processing all 4. And then it's asking if I want to tail the logs, and yes, I do. So I want it to monitor on my behalf here, make sure it's looking good. Okay. Let's see. No scheduled recurring sync, factory escalation, housekeeping. Let's see. Let's actually file GitHub issues for number 3 and 5. So we're gonna keep adding more. I mean, this is the goal of the factory. Is like every single little thing that I find, just make it an issue. Make it an issue over and over again. And then slowly over time, it's going to address even all the little things that I find. And hopefully this application just gets perfect over time. I mean, the main risk that we have is just things break when it's in the middle of implementation. So there's a lot of regression testing that I'll have to do as well. But also, one of the workflows that I have in this repository, I run on a weekly basis. And it's one just to do full regression testing. So it's this workflow right here. Dark Factory comprehensive test. So it's a weekly cron that fires full end-to-end regression against main for our Dark Factory experiment repo. And so it does a full like agent browser, like browser automation testing every single user journey, like testing the RAG pipeline and the chat interface and citing sources and clicking on the sources. And then for anything that doesn't work, it'll file an issue automatically. So we have this self-improving loop in the dark factory where we have this higher level process that steps out of any individual issue or pull request and analyzes the entire application. And then when it creates these issues, like these get automatically picked up from the orchestrator when they run the other Archon workflows. And so you can see here that we have triage all 4 of the issues that we just created, and then this one is in progress. So I guess it just determined like this bug is the biggest, right? Like this is a priority of low, which I mean, it makes sense. It's just like a UI thing. And then the chat auto scrolling, like that's a bit more annoying. So a priority medium. And then the main problem here of the conversation naming not really working, like that's the highest priority. So I agree with its decisions here. And by the way, for every single workflow that runs in the dark factory, it loads in full context from these 3 core files of the factory. The way that I provide my own instructions is through this. And so the factory rules, part of this document, I don't know if I'd be able to find the exact part right now, but like part of this document is outlining to the dark factory, here's how you prioritize issues. Like these are the things that we need to make sure we address on priority. These are the other things that we can, lower the priority. And so like, if there's ever a case where it triages issues in a way that I don't agree, then I just edit this file, right? So there's still that, even though it's something that doesn't have human in the loop for the actual implementation of issues, I still have that lever I can pull to change things if it goes off the rails or it doesn't quite handle things how I want it to handle things. But like right now, this is looking really good. So, all right, okay, this filed issues looking good. Triage, all looking good. Okay. All right, so it looks like we are already handling one of the workflows for issue number 77. So I want you to take a look at the Archon workflow logs for that, and let me just give me a status update here. All right. Cool. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Might also want to eliminate the GUID and the URL. It's unseemly IMO. Yeah, that could definitely be, like, I assume you're talking about this, or not assume, I know you're talking about this, that's fair. Yeah, I don't really know what we would do instead if I just had like a shorter ID or something, but yeah, it could be better to have something else. Seems like this would be mostly useful in a team setting. What about us solopreneurs? Any application you can think of? I mean, this is definitely useful for teams because now everyone can just dump a bunch of issues here. But I would argue this is very useful for solopreneurs as well. And I'm like not quite a solopreneur. I have a couple guys on my team that are helping me like build out Archon and helping me with like workshops and course content in Dynamis. But I'm pretty close to a solopreneur. Like for this dark factory, I'm working on it entirely myself. I haven't had anyone help me with this entire setup. And I even like kind of using the dark factory as an example of building out this RAG chat application. Like this has been super useful for me as someone who is working on it by myself. Like I said, I am planning on taking this experiment and starting to apply it to other repositories. Maybe just adding in some human in the loop after plans and pull requests. But this saves so much time. It's so convenient having the issues be your entry point. Like you file an issue, here's my problem, here's the thing I want, and we don't have to do any other context engineering. That's the beauty of having the factory rules and mission.md and the global rules combined with the Archon workflows. Because the Archon workflows is the harness. That's how I know that like when I file an issue, the AI coding process that I think gives me the best results, I know is going to be invoked. Because the Archon workflow is going to guide the entire thing, and I don't have to prompt for it, or I don't have to like run my sequence of commands. Like all of that is just handled automatically. And then if there's ever any problems, I just update these files or maybe change the Archon workflows. And so really like the goal of the dark factory is just to like package up my end-to-end process for AI coding as much as possible. And so even if I add in more human in the loop, it still like fulfills that mission of I have this simple entry point and then everything else is taken care of for me. And whenever there needs to be human in the loop, then I would just build that into the Archon workflow, so I'd get some kind of notification like, hey, this is the plan. What do you think? Should we revise, or should we move forward with creating the pull request? And so I can add myself in, but it's still like I don't have to re-invoke something. Like I just give my input and then it automatically continues. And so, yeah, like I said, even for solopreneurs, like it's just a huge boost in productivity. All right, sips coffee and watches Cole cook. Well, I'm sipping my water and watching Claude cook. That's funny. Yeah, I already had my coffee this morning. Otherwise, I'd be sipping that right now. Why don't I use the Minimax subscription? Isn't it better? That is a fair question. So the reason that I am using the API here is because I'm preparing to have this dark factory operate at a scale so large that I would never be able to manage my rate limits for any subscription, like Anthropic or Minimax or GLM, like any of those. So yes, right now, I could be using my subscription instead because I'm not filing that many issues right now. But I just kind of want to like test how much does it actually cost to run this thing. I want to get a good sense of how much it costs right away before I really start to scale it. So that's why I've decided to just jump right to using the API directly instead of any subscription. So it's definitely costing me. But it's worth it for me just because I want to like really get a grasp on the entire thing. So anyway, I'm going to open up the dark factory here and monitor, because I've been hitting like CPU spikes on this instance a lot. I want to make sure that, okay, so we're looking pretty good for bandwidth. Because yesterday when I tried running a lot of workflows in parallel, I crashed the machine. So I just want to like look out for that as it's running right now. So okay, we're looking good, and we can go back to and see. Yep. Okay. So for the fixed GitHub issue Archon workflow, we're on node 4 out of 22. So typical flow: web research, plan, implement, static checks, test, self-review, adversarial sprint. There's a lot that goes on. Like I said, in order to make this reliable, there are very elaborate processes that I built into the Archon workflows, and this takes like 15 to 30 minutes in total. So yeah, definitely like watching paint dry. That's why I'm planning on doing some other things in this live stream as well, like talking to you guys. Maybe I'll kick off some other workflows, just handling things on my computer just for the sake of scale. And then I can work on Archon itself. So I'll see what to do. I'll go through some questions in the chat first. Minimax is goated. It's very impressive for its cost. Believe it or not, Minimax is a third of the price of Claude Haiku, and it is about as good as Sonnet 4.5. So unfortunately, I don't have Opus 4.7 running my whole factory. That would be very powerful. But that's also another thing that I've wanted to experiment with here is, can I, with the help of Archon for the harnesses, build something so reliable that I don't even need the most powerful models and able to in order to have this repository basically just manage itself. Like, that's part of the experiment. Almost impossible to use the amount of tokens on a $20 plan. I mean, if it's true that I could like really scale a subscription, I guess I would consider it, because I mean, I am burning at least a little hole in my pocket here with the testing that I'm doing right now. Like we could see from even just handling this single issue, it was costing like 50 cents already. So we're just kind of watching it tick down here over time. Not fun to see, but yeah, I might actually consider the subscription. Because it's this right here, token plan, right? Let's see, which one? Oh, okay, yeah. What does this look like? So 15,000 model requests for 5 hours. I mean, that would scale extremely well. Wait, what's the difference here? This one's 15,000 and this is also 15,000? Oh, because it's high speed. Okay. Yeah. So really, I'd only need this one because I don't really need high speed. I like how they say the number of OpenClaw agents it supports. It's crazy how viral OpenClaw is. Like, everyone's just supporting OpenClaw. But yeah, okay, I might actually I would heavily consider this because that's pretty good scale. I don't. Well, I mean, I might hit that faster than you'd think though, because these workflows are very elaborate for each issue. We'll see. I'll probably test it out. Yeah. Anyway, let's go back to my balance. There we go. Another 5 cents that we spent just in the time we were looking at the subscription. I mean, it's not actually that bad overall. And I can even like ask it for another status update here. Give me another status update for the workflow. All right. Cool. Hey, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it a lot. High speed is so nice. You can try Plus for now and upgrade later just for the difference in price. Yeah, I might do that. I'm actually really considering it. So I appreciate you guys pushing me to look at that. And yeah, thank you again for the donation. Appreciate it a lot. Finally, someone doesn't say coding is so replaced, bro. Devs are so cooked. Yeah, I always try to be real. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Because, yeah, there's way too much hype right now around AI coding being able to do literally everything. And with this experiment, I am having AI do everything. But that's part of it, is me acknowledging that, like, this isn't the way to get the most reliable results. Maybe at some point. Maybe at some point. I think part of why a lot of these people get away with saying these things is because, like, at some point it is going to be true. It's just pretty far from being true. Like, it could be a good, like, 5 years before something like a dark factory is, like, the de facto standard for building all software. Like, it's going to take so much time to get there, because there's a long ways to go for the models being reliable enough and like the harnesses around them, and then even just like adoption is going to be so slow. Like, think about all the enterprise companies that are still working on migrating their Cobalt and C code to whatever else. Like, it takes so long for like larger companies to actually get on board with the latest things. And so, like, even when the dark factory becomes like reliable enough where startups are shipping everything through it, there's still going to be millions of companies out there that aren't even close to adopting a dark factory, whatever that ends up looking like. So yeah, I could talk about that for a long time. The whole idea of like software engineers being replaced and what's reliable now versus what will be later. Always a fun thing to chat about. Cool. Love the work. Appreciate it. Been building my own dark factory, 24/7 coding agents as well. Super cool. Yeah. I mean, if you want to like share more about what your setup looks like, I would always be down to hear about that. So yeah, for anyone who is building a dark factory as well, feel free to just like share a little bit of your setup. Like, are you using GitHub issues like me, or managing it somehow else? I would be quite curious. Some men just want to watch the tokens burn. Yeah, well, okay, I promise you I'm not doing the API just because I want to see my tokens burn, but it is true. It's kind of silly. There's like a big joke going around in the industry right now that people, they just are prideful of like how many tokens they spend. Or you have the CEOs that are like, if my engineers aren't spending 10 million tokens every single day, then what are they doing? Like, the output is measured in the token spend now. Like, it's ridiculous how far it's gone. All right, so we're not in the dark part of the factory yet, correct? I mean, we're pretty much there, Sean. What I was explaining at the start of the live stream is that there's a little bit of like me managing some things through Claude directly. So just as I'm getting the initial infrastructure set up, there are certain things that I want to protect the factory from being able to edit. And so I need to work on editing that myself. Like some of like the database schema and the infrastructure, like I want some of those things to be protected. So I'm forced to make it like not fully dark factory yet. But I'm still at the point, or even now I'm at the point where I'm not writing any of the code or reviewing anything myself. And then yeah, very soon here, like I would say this, we've gone fully dark when this issue list is the only way I ever communicate with the code base. So we're getting there. All right. I can pass the GUID and the request headers. That's true. I could. I think the reason I would have at least something in the URL though is just so that you can like revisit a conversation directly with a link instead of having to go to the main website and then click back into the conversation. I think that's how most websites work. Like if you just go to ChatGPT and start a conversation, I think even then you have a some kind of ID in the URL. All right. I've heard the subscription plans are heavily subsidized. I mean, they are for Anthropic. And they might be for Minimax or like GLM as well. I don't know, but maybe that's another reason for me to use the API. Is just like then at least hopefully I'm not subsidized at all. So, I guess I don't know if you mean like the model quality output's lower or not. Subsidize. I guess subsidized doesn't necessarily mean that like the quality is worse. I don't know. What about GLM 5.1? Yeah, so when I was initially figuring out what model I wanted to use for the Dark Factory, it was really a decision between Minimax M2.7 and GLM 5.1. I was pretty close to going to GLM actually. I think the main reason I didn't is because it is decently more expensive. Yeah, so it's like 3 times as expensive, at least just like looking at an open router. Where's yeah. Yeah, or even like 4 times the price. Because Minimax M2.7 is only 30 cents per million input tokens through any of the APIs. And then the high speed one is double, but I'm not using that one right now. That's part of why the whole workflow run is taking a bit longer. So I might switch to high speed at some point and just double the price, but I guess it's like close to double the speed through Minimax API directly. I'm just on OpenRouter because that's the easiest way to see the pricing. But yeah, GLM 5.1 is like pretty on par with Minimax, but a lot more expensive. That's really what the decision came down to. I don't know if I have like exact benchmarks. Minimax M2.7 versus GLM 5.1. I was looking at some benchmarks at some point. I don't know where I saw them exactly. Let's see. Yeah. So okay, I mean it's a decent jump. Okay, I don't remember it looking like this. That's a pretty big difference actually. Let's see. I gotta tilt my head here. Does this actually show? Wait a second. Okay, this might have been what I was looking at. Okay. Incorporates 10 evaluations. Yeah, see this is more what I saw in a lot of my research. It's like GLM is better, but not by much. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, like for terminal bench, there's only a few percent difference. And I know that like in the end benchmarks don't mean everything. And so I certainly I do want to try GLM at some point as well. It's actually very, very easy to make the entire system switch to a different provider. Like I could have it switch within like 10 minutes right now if I wanted to. I would just have to go set up my GLM API key or subscription. So I probably won't do it on the live stream right now, but it's very, very easy to swap Claude code. Like check this out. I could literally like have it walk me through what it would look like right now. So watch this. I'm gonna go to my Dark Factory plan because this has like full context for how I set it up to use Minimax, and I think I even talk about GLM. Yeah, like I've done some like comparisons here. And I like cover like here's exactly how I set up the environment variables to point it to Minimax instead. So watch this. I'll copy this path, send it in, and say if I were to switch to use GLM instead of Minimax M2.7 with Claude Code on the Dark Factory VPS, tell me exactly how I would do that. I don't want to switch right now, so don't do it, but just describe to me how I would and how easy it is. And we'll just wait like a minute for a response. But yeah, you'll just see it's so simple. So yeah, I'm definitely considering. There's quite a few other models as well. Like if we just look at, I don't know, let's go to OpenRouter here. Close out of a couple of tabs. And we look at models, just like the most popular models. I'll go by most popular. So yeah, obviously Sonnet. So like DeepSeek would be another option. I probably wouldn't be that interested in trying DeepSeek. But yeah, of course you got Minimax. What else? Yeah, Nemotron is an interesting one. Yeah, and then of course GLM 5.1. Kimi K 2.5 is another one that I've thought about doing. Yeah, and then here's the other one, Quen 3.6. I would potentially be interested in trying as well. So this one is, oh wow, yeah, that's almost as cheap as Minimax M 2.7. Actually, hold on, I'm gonna compare this Quen 3.6 to compared to, I don't know, let's just do Minimax again, Minimax M 2.7. I want to know. Let's see. Okay, there's an open code subreddit post. Or, oh, here, there's something on OpenRouter directly. Oh, that's just activity comparison, so that doesn't really help. Okay. TLDR. Okay, so in this test, GLM won for him. Interesting. Okay, maybe I really need to try GLM. Let's see. This person said 2 weeks of intensive use case. GLM 5.1 tends to overthink and in the process wasted so much tokens. Quen 3.6 is much more balanced. Okay. Yeah, I'm very interested in trying different models for this harness. This is yet another reason I'm excited for the Dark Factory, because not only does it allow me to test, like, what does it look like to have an agent manage a code base entirely, but it's also a way for me to do a lot of real testing with open source models or just non-frontier models. Because yeah, you can just swap your Claude code to use GLM or Quen 3.6 or whatever, but if you don't have like a real project to work on and these like full workflows where you're testing something end to end, you're not really testing the model. Like I could just throw one issue at each one of these models and I would have, like dozens and dozens of turns and like hundreds of data points to, and like what I see in the end is a pretty comprehensive workflow that got to that point. So I feel like it's like a very legitimate way. Like I could run just a couple of rounds of the orchestrator with each of these models and have a really good idea of quite quickly which one I would actually want to use. So honestly, that could be another live stream for next week, as I could try running the Dark Factory with different models and see what kind of results I get with Minimax versus Kimi K2, Quen 3.6, and GLM. Those are probably the four main ones that I would try. And then maybe we could even do like you guys help me decide a fifth one that I try or something like that. That could be really fun. All right. Cool. Thank you for the donation, Igor. I appreciate it a lot. Most enterprises struggle with shipping software reliably. The idea that the most complex tool in the history of software will somehow be adopted in months and all engineers are jobless is ridiculous. And I agree. Yep, definitely. One of the things that I've started to do more of is enterprise trainings. And so something that I don't offer publicly because I get enough demand just coming to me like through like inbound emails. But I offer corporate trainings for agentic engineering. So usually I'll do like 4-hour sessions or like either like, in person or virtual, where I'll go through the entire methodology for shipping software reliable with AI at an enterprise scale. So talking about what does it look like to create a reliable system that's standard across the team? How do you manage more complex code bases? I mean, some things that I, of course, have covered on my YouTube channel, but like getting a lot more specific to enterprise level, not necessarily the solopreneur. Of course, the same things do apply though. So yeah, all that to say, I've been doing a lot of corporate trainings, and it's pretty crazy to see like how legacy some of their systems are, and just in general like how slow it is to adopt things, because it has to be like at that level. There's so many audits and I mean like for lack of a better word like corporate red tape is what it's called, for things that have to get approved through different levels of leadership for new tools or new standards, or moving things to different architectures or programming languages. And so, yeah, it takes a long time for adoption for those larger companies. It's one of the advantages that startups have, is they can ship things fast. They can move quick. They can adopt new tools and new strategies very quickly. It doesn't have to be a bunch of meetings in order to make any kind of change. It might just be one meeting, or it could just be the CEO of the startup with one Claude Code session deciding like, okay, good, let's go ahead and use Archon right now. So yeah, I've seen a lot of either side of it, like people that are able to move really fast and people that can't. And I mean, honestly, for a majority of companies in the world, they can't move that fast. It's just not possible because of the risks that come with adopting new tools or methodologies. All right. Cool. So let me go ahead and pop back over and see where we're at right now. Oh, actually, no, I want to show this first. So this is what we have to do to switch to GLM. So it's a pure environment variable swap. It says it'll take 10 minutes, just like I said it would. Zero code changes. That's the best part, is you don't even have to change the code in the dark factory. So here are the files that have to change. So I just have to change my environment variables to point to GLM instead. So Anthropic honors these environment variables in Claude Code. You can change the base URL, and then you can have the auth token just be your GLM API key instead of your Anthropic auth token or API key. And then you set the models. So like whenever I call out Opus in Claude Code, it's now going to point to GLM 4.6, right? I could do 5.1. Or if I want something fast, I want to specify Haiku, then it'll just do like GLM 4.5 air, right? So like within my Archon workflows, I'm specifying like this node I want to run with Sonnet for my research, and then this node I want to run with Opus for my implementation. And so then we're just mapping to the different GLM models that we want to use. I'm doing the exact same thing with Minimax M 2.7. So yeah, I mean, rest of this isn't super important little details here, but yeah, it'd be very, very easy to do it. All right, cool. Give me another status update. All right. I just want to see where the fix GitHub issue workflow is right now. All right, $3 donation from Journey to Serve. I appreciate it very much. Thank you guys for the support. Another one here from Shelly. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you for Archon and the extensive trainings. You're very, very welcome. My pleasure. And a lot more coming very soon. I want to keep doing more content on the Dark Factory and Archon, both YouTube videos and live streams. So yeah, thank you again for the donation. All right. Okay, so currently we are on node 7 of 22. We already finished the implementation, so now we're just doing our validation here. So very cool. And then if I go back to Minimax, I want to check my credit usage quick. So I checked last maybe 20 minutes ago. So now it is down to, okay, so we spent a good $1.50 about roughly so far on this issue. So it's not cheap. For sure. I definitely want to maybe try a subscription. We'll see. Why choose Archon? The word Archon means fallen angel / demon, kind of dark. That's not the definition that I know of. Because Archon means warrior. Archon is a Greek term meaning ruler, referring to a chief magistrate in ancient Athens. So I picked Archon based on this definition. And the reason for that is because it is the kind of like the original vision for Archon when I built the prior versions last year was the AI command center, right? Like this is your orchestrator. And I feel like as a harness builder, it still lives up to that vision. So like I can go to the Archon interface here. I'm managing my workflows, managing my coding agents across different sessions, executing things in parallel, packaging up my entire AI coding process as deterministic or like partially deterministic workflows. Like this is your way to manage or rule over your coding agents. So that's the definition that I went with. I didn't know that it meant okay, so biblical definition. Maybe I should clarify that in the README because I agree that going off of this definition, Archon is not a good name. Um, is that actually appear in Genesis, or is that like some translations? Because I don't remember reading Archon in the Bible. Does the word Archon appear in the Bible? It might just be like some translations. Um, so if you actually read the Greek translation, maybe it would show up. Um, and it's in the Septuagint as well. I haven't read the Septuagint or anything in the Septuagint for like 5 years now. Um, let's see. While commonly used for human rulers in the Gospels, it's also used in the spiritual sense to refer to supernatural forces. Okay, so I guess most of the time it isn't necessarily a bad thing. I could be speaking out of my butt right now. While the term appears a specific Gnostic concept of archons as malicious cosmic jailers. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I should specify that this is not archon in the biblical sense, but it is just the Greek from the Greek. All right, that's also why there's like the shield logo here, because it's like, Greek ruler, like everyone had shields back in the day. That's kind of the inspiration for it. Okay, Archon means ruler and Genshin too. Cool. Very cool. All right. Okay, cool. So anyway, I'm going to what am I going to do next here? I guess we'll just kind of keep letting this run. Whoops, that's the wrong repo. I want to look at the issues here. Because I think the orchestrator might run again to triage. Or no, I guess it would pick up one of these next. Yeah, anyway, I'll just keep letting it run. Or I guess the orchestrator wouldn't be able to pick up something. Because right now, just for the sake of testing things one at a time, I just allow it to handle one thing at a time currently. So the cool thing is, like, once I end my stream here, what's going to happen is it's just going to rip through all of these just throughout the day as I'm working on other things. And then when I get comfortable with it, I can increase the parallel executions allowed. And then as long as I can handle the CPU and RAM usage on the machine, then I can rip through a lot more at once. Cool. All right. Well, I'll let it keep handling that. The other thing I want to do right now is I want to do some work on Archon. So like I said at the start of the stream, more of a casual live stream, just kind of doing some random things here so you guys can, tag along with my day-to-day and what I'm working on for Archon in the Dark Factory. So I actually want to do some work on Archon. And something very interesting that I wanted to work on this weekend is creating some Archon workflows to help me manage all of the issues and pull requests that we have in Archon. And so this project has gone, I wouldn't say viral, but like we've got like a good like 5,000 stars in the last couple of weeks, which I'm very honored by, like very humbled by the attention that we got on Archon. It's super cool to see everyone trying it out. We have like thousands of people that are using it right now, so it's very cool to see. And with the attention comes a lot of issues and pull requests, and so we're working hard to address these as much as we can. But it's difficult, especially because of how easy it is to create issues and pull requests with the help of coding agents right now. People are very active creating both issues and pull requests. And so in order to manage that, I definitely need the help of AI. And so obviously there's a lot of Archon workflows to like fix issues and do pull request reviews and things like that. But there's more of like a manual process that I have right now to review things than I would like. And so making an Archon workflow that'll like guide me through the review of many pull requests in the sequence is something that I'm interested in doing. And then also creating some kind of Archon workflow where I can like point it at a GitHub issue and then just see if it can replicate that issue. And that would actually be the simpler one. I think that's the one that I want to start with here. And the best part about Archon is we have a skill that ships with Archon. So for Claude Code, it can load in this skill and then it automatically knows how to use Archon, how to build workflows, how to use the Archon CLI. So I can literally just tell it to load the Archon skill, describe the workflow that I want to build, and then it'll just build it with me. It's so easy. So let's actually do this right now. I'm going to go into my Archon repository here. I'll open up a new Claude Code session with dangerously skip permissions, just so I don't have to approve a bunch of things right now for the live stream. And I will say, load the Archon skill, and then I want you to help me build a new workflow for me to use personally to help me manage my issues in the Archon repository. Essentially, what I want to do is I want to be able to give you an issue number, and then the Archon workflow is going to load the full context of the issue, and then it will use the tools at its disposal to try to replicate the issue. And if it is able to replicate the issue, or if it isn't, it'll make a comment on the GitHub issue either way, letting the user know if I was or wasn't able to replicate the problem. And as far as tools at the disposal, if it's something related to the Archon web UI, I'd want it to use, the agent browser skill for browser automation to verify that way. If it's something related to the backend, maybe we'd make like API calls to Archon. So it's important that this workflow also starts the Archon backend and frontend, so that everything's up and running for the trying to reproduce the problem. And then if it's something in the Archon CLI, then obviously we would try to invoke the Archon CLI with whatever configuration might be the issue or whatever that is, right? I want you to get creative here to think about the different kinds of problems we can have in Archon so that we can supply the right tools to this workflow for it to reproduce the issue no matter what the person reported. All right, so good. I'll just go ahead and send that off. So bit of a big brain dump there, but that's how I like starting my workflow builds. Really, anytime I'm using coding agents, I just want to give a brain dump at first. I always say that you start unstructured in your conversations with planning, and then you get into structure, right? And for us, the ultimate structure is going to be the Archon workflow itself with all the different prompts for the different nodes here. And so, yeah, literally input to this workflow is a GitHub issue number, and then the output is going to be a comment on the issue saying, yes, I was able to reproduce, or no, I wasn't. And then maybe I have a separate Archon workflow that will analyze issues for where I've commented, yes, I was able to reproduce. And so that way I can have a separate workflow that picks up the workflows, or that picks up the issues that I've actually found to be real problems. So yeah, one of the biggest reasons I want to do this is because as much as I really appreciate people giving issues, trust me, thank you guys for being a part of Archon and submitting issues and pull requests. I'm grateful for that. But there are a lot of issues where it's user error, right? They didn't configure something correctly, or they don't quite understand how to use Archon, so they think it's a problem when it's not. It's always a possibility. And so I want to quickly be able to identify those things, because then also the comment that the workflow puts on the GitHub issue could maybe have some instructions hey, by the way, I think you're not quite configuring things right or using it right. Let me guide you to try this thing instead, and then let me know if that doesn't work, right? That's the kind of thing that I would want to be able to have this help me do. And then I would still, of course, love to review all of the issues and pull requests myself, but using a coding agent as a starting point for me to just have context going into that pull request or that issue is super important, just to be able to manage all this at scale. All right, so we'll see. I'll kind of let it think here and go back to our chat. All right. The past few months, the models have gotten so much better. If that trend continues by the end of the year, it's difficult to say what the role of a dev will become. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be that much different by the end of this year, because honestly, it's more marketing hype than anything of just communicating to all of us how much models are really improving. I think there actually has been quite a plateau in the last year for the power of LLMs, but certainly the LLMs are still improving, and we're getting into harness engineering this year, building the wrapper around coding agents that make them more reliable. So it certainly is going to get to the point more and more over time where the job of the developer is just to manage the agents, like speccing things out, doing reviews, manual testing, talking to the stakeholders, right? Like establishing the code base requirements from the conversations with the business team or whatever that is. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now already is I'm delegating all code to the coding agent right now. I haven't written a line of code myself in a while. I'm still reviewing everything though, planning out specs, aside from the Dark Factory, of course. But like when I work on Archon, I'm doing the code reviews myself and I'm planning out the implementations myself. All right. Really loving Archon. It's a bit of a paradigm shift, yep. But using it consistently now, I've really honed my skills. I can see Archon as dark of a factory as dark factories will or should be. Yeah, I appreciate it, Sean. All right. I'm addicted to the tokens. I've been on tokens for about 6 months now. Yeah, same here. It is the latest addiction. Everyone in Silicon Valley has moved on from drug and alcohol abuse to token abuse now. All right. For my Dark Factory, I have a custom UI. That's very cool. Planning agent quizzes the user until there are no ambiguities. That is a good approach. Yes. About the requirements. The output from the planning agent is broken down to packets that get handed to a coding agent using Pi, and the user can see the output of the agent's work in the browser for their project. That sounds like an awesome setup you've got there. I love that. And yeah, one of the most important things when you're planning something with a coding agent is to have it ask you questions. I always recommend doing that because the number one goal for you during the planning process with a coding agent is to reduce the number of assumptions that it's making. Because more often than not, when a coding agent messes up a piece of work for you, it's not because the code is bad, it's because it's not aligned with what you actually wanted to build. Like, this isn't how I would have solved it. This isn't how I would have implemented that feature. And that's really on you. I know that it's hard to really grasp that. Like, it's my job to make sure it's not making these assumptions, but that's why it's important to spend a lot of time in planning up front. And that's one of the reasons that I say that like the Dark Factory is an experiment, not what I'd recommend all of the time for production level software, because it's not like the GitHub issues is enough context. Like if for a real planning process, you need a lot more of a conversation than what we're just going to have through a GitHub issue. Unless you want to make some like super elaborate GitHub issue with the planning process beforehand, which I mean you could do, but then that sort of defeats the purpose partially of a Dark Factory. So, okay. Wow, it actually already built the workflow. I was going to maybe go through a bit of a planning process with it, like I was just saying, but I guess I just kind of decided to rip through it. But anyway, we can take a look at this. So it's a 7-phase Archon workflow. It's going to start by fetching the issue number based on what I give through natural language. And then it's going to use Haiku just as a quick classification. So this is something that's going to need a server spun up, need a front end spun up, that kind of thing. And then in parallel, we're going to fetch some context from Git and then investigate the problem itself. And then we're going to write out that report to investigation.md so that future nodes have the context around what we found from looking into the code base. Then we're going to start the services if the issue is related to something where we would need the back end or the front end of Archon started. And then we'll try to reproduce. So following an area-specific playbook, right? The way that we need to reproduce a problem is going to be different depending on if it's the front end, or we're going to just be working with the API, or using the CLI, or if it's a problem in the database where you have to look in schema issues, like whatever that is, we're going to look at that specifically, clean up things after, and then post the comment. This actually looks really good. So let me pop this open here because we could actually test this on an issue right now. So it's a pretty long workflow just because a lot of the prompts here are just like inline. So it's a little ugly, but whenever I start a workflow, I like building it as a single file at first. And then another thing that we support in Archon is extracting the prompts out into commands. And so that way, we don't have to have like super massive inline prompts in our primary workflow YAML file. So anyway, we have a bash node at first that extracts the issue number. And then we feed that in as context to the next node to classify. You are a triage classifier for the Archon codebase. Analyze the GitHub issue below and determine which area of the system is affected and what is required to reproduce it. Then we list out the different systems. So my Cloud Code just now researched the codebase to understand the different parts of this system. We have the web UI, API, CLI, isolation workflows, database, adapters for the different platforms we can talk to Archon with. We have the core that handles things like the message routing, session management, the AI provider streaming with Claude Codex Pi. Pi was just added yesterday. We support Pi now. And then after it does the classification, then we are going to, so we have structured output here. So we're enforcing it to specify, like, here's the area. Do we need a server? Do we need the front end? That kind of thing. Then we do our parallel context gathering. So I'm just kind of reviewing this live, like sort of explaining it to you on the fly while I'm looking at this to make sure that this workflow looks like the process that I want, right? Like I described, here's my manual process usually for reproducing something. Now I just want to package it up so Archon can do it for me. So we're looking at some Git context. Looking at recent commits just to see if I like this a lot, because usually when someone reports an issue, it's because of something that was broken within recent commits. So I mean, that's not always the case, and 15 is kind of arbitrary, so that might be a lever I'd pull on to adjust this, but I like it overall. Investigate, you are a code-based investigator. Search for code related to the reported problem, so the reproduction step has targeted context to work with. I like that a lot. So again, giving the issue number from that initial node in the workflow, and then the classification from the classify step. So like every single output from a previous node can be referenced in subsequent nodes, right? So like we have the structured output here. This is one of the things that makes Archon so good, is no matter what kind of output you want from one node, whether it's a file or structured output or even just like a single number, you can do that, and then other nodes can reference that. Here's the Git context from recent changes. That's really helpful as well. And so, yeah, based on the area, focus on the relevant package. Like, here's where you should look if this is something that was an issue reported in the web UI, or here's where you should look if it's something from the adapters. So this is also taking advantage of the fact that we have things structured extremely well in the Archon codebase itself to be optimized for coding agents. So that way, if it is a problem in the CLI, then we know that like this is the only place we'd actually have to look. I mean, maybe we'd have to look there and the core, because the core is the one place that kind of affects everything. And so maybe I would actually adjust the prompt to specify that. So this would be a good example for me to add in a little bit of correction here. I want to be very careful here. For the investigate node, I want it to know that if something is, for example, broken in the CLI, we'd also have to look in the core as well, because the core part of Archon, it really does affect the other parts of the code base. And so essentially, I just want you to add a little bit of prompting here to the investigate step to say that, like, based on the area, you're going to focus on the relevant packages and then keep the core part of the repo in mind as well. And you'll probably have to look through that too. So just a little bit of a correction there. I probably didn't word that the best, but I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just a simple addition. Just trying to give you guys an example of what it looks like to actually improve the workflow based on just looking through the prompts. Because, like, I've shown this a lot in live streams in the past, building Archon workflows. You can see it added right there. It looks good. But I've never really shown what it looks like to really analyze the prompts and improve the prompts. If you want to get the best results with Archon possible, you definitely want to not just vibe code the workflows. Like, look through this and make sure that it actually makes sense. So, okay, we'll write our findings out to investigation.md. Looks good. And then we start the services. So depending on what we actually need, and this is the cool part, like this is a deterministic step in the Archon workflow. So if we need to start the back end, then we'll start the back end. If we need to start the front end, then we'll start the front end. Otherwise, we're not even going to deal with that, so that we're very focused on the parts of Archon that we actually spin up. And then we reproduce the issue. We got instructions for different things, like if it's the web UI, then we're going to use the agent browser skill. If it's the API, then like here's how we're going to make curl requests. If it's the CLI, then we run run CLI and whatever command to start a workflow or whatever it is. Whoops. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to skip through a little. I mean, I would review this closer if I wasn't in the middle of a live stream here. Just for the sake of brevity, I am going to skip past this. It looks good overall. We do the cleanup. That's another deterministic step. So as much as possible, we're taking the decisions away from the coding agent. I don't want to risk that the coding agent doesn't do the cleanup, because we might prompt it to, but because this is such a long workflow, even with the latest and greatest models, it might just skip that step entirely. So we want to make sure that we enforce this to happen all the time. That's why we have this as a bash node in Archon, in this workflow. And then we finally post the comment. But obviously, we need LLM reasoning here to figure out what exactly should be posted. And so this goes back to being an AI-driven node. So it's a prompt, not a bash or Python or TypeScript script. Okay, so post a comment on the original GitHub issue reporting whether the problem was reproduced and what was tried. This comment runs whether reproduction succeeded, failed, or was partial. The issue reporter always gets a response, which maybe I wouldn't always want to do that. I think for now this is a good starting point though. Yeah, if it's confirmed, if it was reproduced, then say confirmed. I reproduced this locally. I saw related behavior but couldn't fully trigger the reported symptom, or I could not reproduce this locally. Details below so you can help narrow it down. Okay, let's try this. I want to just try this right now. Okay, so first I'll go over to the Archon web UI so that we can see that this is automatically registered in our workflows. Wow, there's so many workflows. Here we go. So reproduce issue. Let me, okay, so let me edit this. This is what our workflow looks like right now. So everything that we saw in the YAML is packaged up like this. Like these are the two parallel steps for investigating and the get context. These run in parallel. Then it goes to starting the services and then down into reproduce and cleanup. So we got the whole visualization of our workflow here. And then we actually need to find an issue to try to reproduce. So I'm going to look through the issue list really quickly here, see if I can identify one that would be good to reproduce. Let's see. Like there's some, like this is a good one. Like I'm definitely going to want to look into this one. This would be pretty hard for a first test though. I want something that's like pretty easy to try. Okay. Clone path uses home.archon instead of archon data root. Breaks git after container restart. This could actually be a good one. That's not fun, or not good to have in the code base. Okay, so any kind of requests that aren't bugs, that's kind of outside of the scope of this workflow, right? Because I'm doing investigation and reproduction. I'm not going to be addressing feature requests with this workflow specifically. This one is a very, very small UI thing. Interactive loop resume crashes with error during execution. Stale session. Ooh, you know what? This actually might be a really good one to try. Interactive loop crashes, error during execution. Every time a user approves a pause gate. Iteration 1 works fine. Ooh, and he's even got some context here. And he's got exactly like how to okay, this is a fantastic. Okay, this is it. This is the one that we're going to do here. Rasmus said it's potentially related to a pull request that we have with a potential fix. Auto reset, stale clause session, bear reset for Slack. Okay, that's just for Slack. So maybe that's, I mean, this is correct that it's potentially related. Anyway, so let's go ahead and do this one. So I'm going to copy this issue number, 1208. That's the wrong repository. This is the right one. So I'm going to say, okay, this workflow looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and test it for real right now. I want you to use the Archon CLI to invoke this workflow to handle issue number 1208. Okay, so I guess I didn't need to have this at the start. Well, I shouldn't say handle. I should say reproduce. To attempt to reproduce. Really, the language doesn't matter too much here. It knows what to do. But let's actually try this out now. I'm excited to see if this works. All right, there we go. Cool. So we kicked off the workflow. It is now running in the background, so we can see that we have the one shell in Claude Code. And yeah, looks like it is running and looking healthy. All right, so and then I can just have my primary Claude Code instance, which this could be your second brain, by the way. Your second brain can invoke Archon workflows in all your code bases, but it's just going to go ahead and monitor this for me. And then, of course, I can go within the Archon web UI, and I can see the execution of the workflow myself. So if I click into view the logs here, we can see that we already finished one step. So we look at the structured output. It says that this is in the area of workflows. It is true that we need the server, but we don't actually need the front end in order to test this. And I agree with it. So it looks like the steps are correct here so far. Okay, so for the reproduction hint, it says start an interactive loop workflow like Archon piv loop via the CLI, web UI, or Slack. Let iteration 1 complete, and then pause at an approval gate. Approve via slash workflow approve. Iteration 2 crashes with the error during execution. Trying to resume stale sessions for iteration 1. Okay, so this is looking great. This is working perfectly. Beautiful. Okay, and so now we're currently on the start services. So I guess it's in the middle of starting up the backend right now. Very cool. All right, this is working great. And you know, while this is running, we can take a look at what's going on in the dark factory here. So I'm gonna jump back over to this. Okay, so take a look. So well, I guess I've been working on Archon for longer than I thought. We had a pull request open 21 minutes ago for the issue that we had the dark factory address autonomously. Very cool. So I'm gonna go back over. Where are we at now? So I wanted to recognize here in this chat window that we have finished, or at least that we have the pull request. I guess it might be in the middle of its self-validation still. So let me give it a sec to see where we are at in the fix GitHub issue workflow. Okay, so yeah, workflow finished. Let me grab the pull request that it created. And then what we can do is we can invoke the orchestrator again. So it runs every half hour, but I just want to like force it to run right now so we can see it review the pull request in real time. So I'm going to let it give me the context here, and then I'll kick that off. So pull request number 80 was created. Wow, it's a bigger pull request. Yeah, large for a localized bug, worth eyeballing for scope creep. Yeah, that's interesting. That feels very long. Yeah, I know this is a dark factory, but I do want to actually poke into this and see why that's so long. That's a lot of changes. Okay, what all did it change? Let's see. What? There's like, oh, it's just all the tests. Oh, it's just a bunch of linting it did. So we're good. It just had to do a bunch of linting. Test repository. Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. It's kind of weird that it did so much with the tests, but that's fine. Maybe there's something I'd want to adjust in the workflow. But anyway, okay. I want you to invoke the next orchestrator cycle yourself so that we can do the validation and automatic merging of pull request 80. All right, let's kick this off. And then I want to go back to Minimax to see what we're spending in credits here. So 2374 down to 2073. All right, not cheap. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it did there. I think the reason this workflow took so much longer is because there was a ton of linting and testing gaps that it found in the middle of this implementation. Because I got to be honest, I was getting a little bit lazy as I was prepping for the live stream here, just trying to like force a bunch of fixes as I was getting stuff ready. So I wasn't doing a lot of the testing and linting. So I think it just identified that itself, and that's why I was spending so much time. So not really concerned with that. There might be something I'd want to adjust in the workflows themselves, but Yeah, I think we're good to validate here, and then maybe I'll do that after the stream. All right, so yeah, let's go back to Archon here. All right, yep, continuing to monitor. If I go over to the UI, let's take a look at the workflow logs again. Okay, looks like something actually crashed here. So our start services node is not working properly. Let's see. I assume the agent just started it itself. Yeah, so it looks like it's continued here. So it failed to start the service, but I assume the agent just went on and did it itself. So I'm actually going to ask it here. Okay, so looking at the Archon workflow. Oh no, actually it recognized that itself. Yeah, so okay, yeah, so what would you recommend we do to fix the start services timeout? And could you look into the logs to see why it timed out? Like, was that a issue with a bun install, or did it get hung trying to start the backend? Like, what exactly happened with that? So I'll ask it here. But it looks like every other part of the workflow ran fine. So it was able to, I assume the agent just started it itself, and then it was able to identify the problem. Oh man, yeah, that didn't work the best. Okay, we got some work to do here. I could not reproduce this locally. Details below so you can help narrow it down. Steps I ran. Read and trace the loop. Did not find Archon piv loop in the bundled or default working directory. It appears to be a custom workflow. That is not true. I was unable to reach the crash because blah blah blah, and then reproduction requires a live or Slack web session. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna delete this comment, obviously, and let's work on this. So obviously, I'm not expecting it to be perfect first pass, but we definitely have some work cut out for us here. Because it also said that it needs a live web UI or Slack, but that's not true because it could just use the CLI. So that might be something I just have to correct in the prompts here. So let me go into my speech to text and I'll say, okay, so one thing that the GitHub comment said is that it couldn't reproduce because it needs a live web UI or Slack, but that's not true. We can just manage everything through the CLI. So I want you to change the prompts in the workflow to specify that when it's a problem in the workflow itself, we can reproduce things by just invoking the workflows through the CLI, like in this case. And then also the Archon piv loop is a bundled workflow. So that is one of the defaults that we have. I need you to also look into why it thought that that isn't one of the defaults. There it is, right there. Archon pivloop.yaml. All right. Send that off, and then it has. Okay, so root cause: the work tree has no node modules. Oh yeah. So we actually have to install things from scratch if we're starting the front end in or the back end in a work tree. Okay. Yep, makes sense. Recommended fix: 3 changes to start services. Bun install first. Yep, okay. And then your recommended changes to fix start services, let's go ahead and do that as well. So I want you to apply all these fixes here, and then I want you to use the Archon CLI to invoke the workflow again on the same issue. I deleted the comment, so we'll have another comment come in at the end of the workflow run. All right, let's try that. Cool, and then while that's running, we can pop over back to the Dark Factory and see. Okay. Cool, so it's in the middle of validating now. Give me a status update for the validate PR on pull request 80. Let's take a look at the Archon workflow here as well. All right. I'll go back to the chat here. Let's see. What do I think about the Oh My Open Agent plugin? I haven't used it myself before, but I know a lot of people in the Dynamis community that like it a lot. And I've heard, I've like looked at the repository, and I appreciate the ideas that they have there. Yeah, I'll pop it up really quick for those of you who are interested. The same people also made the Oh My Codex. So it's like a couple of dudes, I think, in China that are building these. They're actually pretty cool. Let me. So Oh My Open Code. Orchestrate curated agents. Ship faster. Anthropic blocked open code because of us. Yes, this is true. They want you locked in. Claude Code's a nice prison, but it's still a prison. I mean, fair enough. Yep. Yeah, so you're juggling Claude Code, Codex, random OSS models, configure workflows, debugging agents. We did the work, tested everything, kept what actually shipped. It's a pretty cool. It's kind of like a harness. It's not really a harness builder like Archon. It's more just like a, opinionated harness that lets you like go between different providers, and like obviously built on top of open code. But yeah, I'm gonna go to the contributor here, because this guy, Yan Ju, I don't know if I'm saying it right. He also made Oh My Codex as well. He's got a lot of really cool repositories. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Oh my, wait, that's not it. Oh yeah, because it's just a fork. This is the one that he built. Yeah, 24,000 stars for this one too. Anyway, very cool. There's so many cool open source repos out there. All right. Oh, it's from Korea. Okay, yeah, Korea. They are from Korea. Yeah, okay. Thanks for the correction. Yeah, not China, Korea. Yeah. All right. GLM prices recently tripled. Okay, that explains why it's so expensive now compared to what I thought it was before. It's a great model. Use it as my opus. Yeah, I mean, one thing I could do for the Dark Factory is I could use GLM for implementation and then Minimax M2.7 for things like research and classification. So I could switch between them using like Claude Code Router. There's a couple open source projects that make it easy to go between different models, so, or even like different providers. That's a good idea. All right. Okay, yeah, and then yeah, as far as the couple of comments around the name around Archon, it's look into the Greek Orthodox religion, the origin of Archon. Yeah, I'll have to like take a look. I don't want to change the name of the tool, but I definitely want to specify like it just comes from the Greek ruler. Like don't read into the other origins. That's not what I had in mind for the name. Oh man. Yeah. All right. Cool. So what else? How is it different from Open Harness? Is there a tool just called Open Harness? I wasn't aware. Like if I just search Open Harness. Oh here, okay, is this what you're talking about? An open agent harness with built-in personal agent. So, okay, if you're asking about this versus Archon, the difference between Archon and every other harness and every other AI coding strategy is those are all opinionated. The beauty of Archon is Archon allows you to build your own harnesses, right? It's the layer above any individual harness because it's the builder. In fact, you could pretty much take any harness. Like I could take Open Harness and I could build it as Archon workflows. I could take BMAD or GSD or Cloudflow and I could build it as an Archon workflow. Not that you necessarily want to just copy it if you like using that directly, but the point is you can take inspiration from other things out there and then build something that is custom to you and how you want to work. And that's one of the things that I've seen over and over and over again is people, they like these tools. They like Open Harness, they like BMAD, they like whatever, but it's not quite what they're looking for. But they feel kind of locked in. Like this person has given their opinionated approach and like, yes, it's good, but I want something that's simpler. I want something that's not over-engineered. I want something that's actually my own. And that's what Archon workflows are. You take your process for AI coding, or you can even go beyond AI coding, like really any agentic workflow, and you can build it into Archon. And it manages a lot of the infrastructure under the hood for things like work trees and isolation, so you can run it in parallel as well. And so, like, if your coding process is you like using BMAT, and you think BMAT is just like perfect for you, then yeah, maybe you wouldn't be interested in Archon. But if you want to try to like really take your own approach that you can evolve over time and really take to be your own, then you need something like Archon. Like one thing I've seen, like I said earlier in the live stream, I've been doing a lot of enterprise trainings for AI coding, and I've heard from companies like quite a few times in the past couple of months where they've tried to adopt something like BMAD, but it just doesn't work because every single engineer on the team gets frustrated because it's like, this is so opinionated. Like, how are we supposed to take this and mold it to our current software development lifecycle? Yes, we want to evolve into a more AI centric software development lifecycle, but we can't just ditch all of our existing processes. Like, we need to manage tasks in a certain way with our tools. We need to go through the review and QA in a at least somewhat similar way to what we did before. We can't just have the team go to something entirely different that's opinionated against certain ideals that we have. And so they have to figure out how to take their existing software development lifecycle and the parts that work well for them, and like, how do they evolve that to mesh well with coding agents? And like, that's why they can't just take something off the shelf. They need to build something that's their own. So I hope that makes sense. But that's a good question. I appreciate you asking that, because I always love addressing like why Archon over just something that works out of the box. Like, the thing with Archon is, yes, we do have a lot of built-in workflows. Like I show here in the README here, we have workflows for ideas to pull request and reviewing issues and pull request reviews. Like, we have these that you can use out of the box, but the biggest thing I encourage you to do with Archon is to build your own workflows, exactly like what I'm doing right here. Like right now, I'm building a very custom workflow for helping me analyze issues. And yeah, we'll actually see how it's going in just a second here. So let me go back to the web UI. Go to the dashboard for reproduce issue, and okay, it looks like it's a lot better now. Did it skip this step though? That makes me a little uncomfortable. Let's look at the... Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. It doesn't need the server because it's just going to test everything through the CLI. That actually, I think that actually works. That makes sense. So it skipped this step entirely because it doesn't need to start the front end or the server. Because we're only going to be using the CLI. So, okay, we're actually good. So this is working better now. Okay. And then the other problem we had before is that other workflow finished way too quickly because it wasn't really doing any actual verification. Now we're actually getting into it. So if we go back to the dashboard, the reproduce issue finished in literally only 5.5 minutes. Like, it wasn't actually working. Now it looks like it's actually working. So this is good. All right. Have I used Gemma 4 yet? Looking for an open source model that is good at reason and coding. Yes, I have. Gemma 4 is a fantastic local model for its size, at least. So here, I'll just go to the Olama page for Gemma 4. I haven't used it that much for coding, like just a little bit testing with Archon and in Claude Code, like this. But you got to be careful, or you have to be aware that you're never going to get nearly as good of results using something as small as Gemma 4 compared to something like Opus 4.7. So it's worth testing and trying. So you have something local, you have something free. But just have the fair expectation that it's not like it's going to be like comparable to, like, you know, Opus or Sonnet for AI coding, or like GPT 5.4 Codex, any of the frontier models. But it's certainly very impressive for its size. All right. Finally catching alive. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, I appreciate you stopping in, Cam. Good to see you, man. All right. Do you not use any tools like the Playwright CLI for your validate phase? So I do. The Vercel Agent Browser CLI is my preferred browser automation tool. Playwright has done a lot to improve their CLI. They used to be like extremely token inefficient, especially back when everyone used it as an MCP server. But yeah, I get the most reliable results with the Agent Browser CLI from Vercel. It's free and open source, just like the Playwright CLI. And so this tool, I actually, I just referenced this when I was building the reproduce Archon workflow. So not like it's using that right now because like we just saw it decided it didn't need to start the front end. But if it had decided it needed to start the front end, right? Like if we go up to the top here, if the structured output was, oops, let me scroll back up. If it was needs front end true, then it would have started the front end and the validation would have used the agent browser to try to reproduce the issue using browser automation, like going through it just as the user would. So yeah, it's a big part of my automation. All of my validation with the Archon front end always uses the agent browser. All right. Cool. So, okay, the workflow finished here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the logs from our main agent where we're orchestrating things. So classify worked, reproduce, ran CLI only, pinpointed the bug, and then posted a comment, staying grounded in artifacts this time. No hallucinated, nope. Okay. All right, so status was reproduced. Okay, so let's actually take a look. So we'll go to the issue here and then refresh. There we go. Okay, 1 minute ago, confirmed I reproduced this locally. Steps I ran. Search for the resume logic, confirm the bug. Ran the targeted test. 1 pass, confirm the test encodes the buggy behavior. Root cause is a 1 line, off by 1 error. When a workflow resumes after a human wait at a loop gate. Okay, I don't need to explain all the technical details here. Let me just read this for a sec. Session ID is loaded at current session ID. This is a stale expired Claude SDK session from before the human wait. Start iteration is set. Loop starts at I equals 2. Okay. The existing tests. The fix. The need fresh session equals loop fresh context. Or if that's not true, then I is equal to start iteration. This ensures the first iteration of any execution always gets a fresh session. Loop user input is already injected. Okay. I don't know. Okay. I have to think about this one. Because what if I want it to not be a fresh session? Okay. All right. Let me ask it here. What if I don't want it to always be a fresh session, though? Like if I want it to resume in the same context after the human approves? Or do we already have support for that in Archon where it would have full context when you resume the session? Because I got to be careful with this one. Because this might be a band-aid that actually takes us away from the intended behavior. Okay, interactive loop nodes crash with error during execution every time a user approves a pause gate. Iteration 2+. Iteration 1 works fine. Okay. Let's see what it has to say here. Okay, and then actually, while we wait for this to run, I'm going to check on the Dark Factory as well. Okay, so let's see. Currently running. Okay, check again. Let's get another status update. We're probably done at this point. In fact, we can see, because we can go to the repo here and see if the pull request is merged. And yes, it is. There we go. So it's done. It merged the pull request into main. So we have and by the way, I have it set on a timer here where it deploys every so often to the front end. And so this is now going to be handled, like the deployment is handled automatically. So now I should be able to validate things myself with a new conversation. So we'll try this in a sec. I just want to make sure that the workflow is actually done. Workflow finished with failed equals true. Okay, so it didn't actually succeed, even though it merged to main. So that's interesting. Let's see what happened here. Well, okay. I'll test this manually while it's doing that. So the problem we just fixed is conversation auto-naming firing on wrong conversation. Fixed a UI regression where the conversation auto-naming logic was firing on the previous conversation instead of the current active one, leaving the current conversation unnamed. Yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to try a new conversation. I'll explain vector databases and embeddings. And we'll see. I think the conversation name should populate once it gets the final message. Let's see here. All right. No, that didn't actually work. Yeah, I'll have to keep debugging that one. What did it actually try to fix here? After sending a message, the use conversation hook was not being called, so the sidebar remains stale. The auto naming, okay, added conversation ref, passed it down into the child components. The ref is set to refetch. This ensures that after sending a message, a sidebar conversation list immediately refresh so the auto name conversation appears correctly. Well, wait. Oh, we only merged this 9 minutes ago. Oh, okay. So the change isn't actually deployed yet because I think it runs every 10 minutes actually. So we were testing the old behavior still. So okay, okay, I thought it like actually did nothing. Okay, well let's see what happened here. So pull request is merged. What happened in the validate PR workflow? The start app node failed during phase 1. App didn't start, likely a port startup issue in the sandbox. Since it runs in parallel with the reviewer and static checks, everything else ran cleanly. Okay, that's not okay though, because if the application didn't start, that means that we couldn't actually do any browser automation testing. And it is absolutely crucial. It is a hard requirement that whenever we validate a pull request, we do the full agent browser validation to confirm that the feature is implemented correctly or the bug fix is handled correctly. So that's not okay. Definitely something we have to adjust in the Archon workflow to make it a hard requirement, and then probably figure out why exactly the start app node failed. So this is actually probably pretty similar to the reproduce issue Archon workflow we just built, where there's just something that has to be corrected in the bash script to start up the application. So I'm not surprised. Like, I haven't iterated on these Archon workflows for the Dark Factory very much yet. So yeah, again, I'm not really surprised that things aren't working perfectly yet. That's part of the live building that I'm doing with you guys, is we're going to keep finding these things and correct it over time. And then as far as the automated deployment goes, I'm actually going to ask about that in a brand new Claude Code session. I'm going to see if we've had the recent deployment done. So I'm going to copy the path to the Dark Factory plan. Read the Dark Factory plan. Then I want you to SSH into the Dark Factory VPS and tell me when the last deployment was, and then how often they're scheduled and when the next one is scheduled to be done. All right. So yeah, I don't think, like, when we weren't able to see the fix here, I think it was because it didn't do the deployment yet, because the pull request is only 11 minutes ago now that it was merged into main. So we'll take a look. Okay. Root cause of the start app failure. Database URL is not set. Okay, it now requires Postgres migration earlier. Okay, so this is actually my fault. Of course, my fault. Made database URL required at import time. The validate PR workflow startup bash node doesn't export database URL into its sandbox, so the backend refuses to boot. Two distinct gaps. We need, other API keys. Straightforward fix, and a verdict rule. The past two synthesizer approved with E2E status, not E2E testable. That status must be a hard fail when the agent browser was expected to run. Okay, I don't really care about that one right now. And yeah. I don't worry. I don't care about disabling the cron because I don't have any pull requests to review right now anyway. I want you to fix these problems. So address the two gaps that you identified here, and then push these changes into the repository and make sure that we pull them in the VPS as well. Okay, cool. So we're making our Archon workflows better in real time here. All right. And then here's what I found for our deployment. The last run was 1530 UTC. Give me everything in CST. I don't want to do the translation in my head right now, so I'm just gonna have it give me in my time zone. Oh, cool! We got a donation here from Christian. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much for the donation. Just because, well, yeah, you don't always have to have an explicit reason, I guess. So yeah, thank you very much. All right. Cool. Let me go ahead and take a look here. So last run was 10:30 Central Time. Scheduled every 30 minutes. No, okay. I'm asking for the deployment, not the orchestrator. Like when we deploy things to where I'm actually pointing chat.dynamis.ai. Okay. Because this is referring to the orchestrator that handles the workflow runs. but I'm specifically asking about the deployment for production. That does automatically. All right. Let's see what we got here. Just waiting for it to chug through the tokens. Okay. Current VPS time 10:54. I mean, yep. Last deployment was 10:47, triggered by the commit. Okay. Schedule every 10 minutes. Timer is now enabled. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's test it one more time. I think it might actually have been deployed, so this might be broken. So how do RAG pipelines work? Well, you know what? It actually makes a lot of sense that it didn't determine the fix didn't work. Because it wasn't able to start the front end. It didn't actually do any browser automation testing because of the problems we're currently fixing in the workflow. So it actually makes a lot of sense that this didn't work. Because yeah, you can see it didn't work. Like same behavior as before. Okay, but that's because of a problem in the Archon workflow. Like I said, I'm building this live with you guys. We're getting to the point where it's up and running, but we have to work through the kinks in the workflows themselves. So, okay. We are compacting. So basically what I'm going to do is I think I'm actually going to reopen the pull request and then have the validate run on it again. Because, yeah, obviously it didn't work. So we'll let that go. And then in the meantime, I'm going to pop over to Archon here. Oh yeah, that's right. I asked it about this issue. So let me go over to Archon. Already supported. Loop, fresh context, false. Okay, so with a single process, each loop iterate does resume in the same context. What breaks the approval gates? Interactive approval gate crosses a process boundary. The work tree process exits. The human takes minutes, hours to approve, then a new process resumes. The Claude Agent SDK session ID we stored belongs to a dead process. When the process passes it as resume session ID, the SDK rejects it. So the real design choice is my one character fix, safe but loses context across gates. User has to reprime via loop user input and prior artifacts. Okay. Yeah. I do think that Claude session IDs can be resumed between different processes, though. So I want you to, like, option A, like, yeah, I want you to do a quick test. I want you to dive into this here because I think it might be a smaller bug. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I want to be careful with this because whenever we approve something in an Archon workflow, I want the option to resume the same context session with the coding agent. Otherwise, we would have to pass in a bunch of context and create a whole system of like capturing context from one conversation to pass it into the next along with the human approval or their feedback. That would become a mess. So I don't want to do it that way. All right, so we'll let that work in the background here. All right, let's go back to our dark factory. I'm doing so much context switching right now. It's like it's a lot of work. All right. Oh, another donation here. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for your time. It's great to see how you're working with the tools. My favorite is BMAD. Archon looks very promising. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for the donation. Glad you like Archon as well. And I don't know if you meant, if BMAD is something different than BMAD, I assume you meant BMAD, which BMAD is a very impressive AI coding framework. And something that I've definitely taken inspiration from just to like take some of those ideas for my own process for AI coding. So again, when you're building Archon workflows to create something very custom for you, it's not like you have to ditch these other tools. You can take inspiration, like literally, I can take my Claude code here. I can point it to the BMAD repository and say, I like Winston. I like this persona, or I like Mary, right? Like take a look at her prompting and like build that into a certain node in my Archon workflow. And it'll do that really, really well. Like you can clone the BMAD repository locally, so it just can quickly access all the different files and like spin up subagents to research the code base just locally. All right. Cool. Pinned the first release of Archon. Still use it with Claude Code, Open Code. It just worked. Super cool. Appreciate you using Archon. All right. Is authorization going to be added to Archon's front-end UI? So we actually do already support being able to set up authorization for when you deploy Archon with Docker. So we have that built into the Docker Compose for if you deploy it to a VPS. Then as far as outside of Docker, I mean, there definitely is more coming soon for building authentication around Archon, especially when we want to take it more to like an enterprise level. So we'll see. Like it's always going to remain open source, but we are interested in making Archon like a tool that like enterprises would actually want to use. Because like I said, it's the biggest need for enterprises to take their existing software development lifecycle and package it up into something more AI native and turning it into a harness for AI coding. They can't use what just comes right out of the box. There's no way that that would ever get approved, really. So yeah. All right. So it's fixing up. So the Dark Factory is fixing up the validation here. And then here, actually, I'm going to tell it. So, okay, once you're done fixing the workflow and committing, pushing, and pulling it on the VPS. Oh, wait, hold on. I lost my Aqua voice. Wait. Okay. All right. So once you're done fixing the workflow and then committing, pushing, and pulling it on the VPS, I need you to rerun validation on the last pull request that was merged. So pull request number 80 in the Dark Factory, it was a bad implementation. It didn't actually fix the problem. And I think the reason we didn't catch that is because there was a failure in the workflow starting the front end, and so we never got to do our full agent browser automation validation. So what I need you to do is undo the commit, undo the merge into main, open the pull request again, add the factory review tag back, so take away the factory approved, and then I want you to start the orchestrator again in order to redo the validation, and then I want you to monitor the workflow to make sure that we do spin up the front end successfully. We're doing full user testing, full browser automation testing. It is not acceptable to skip past that. I need this entire workflow to work. There we go. All right, now so luckily we got Opus 4.7, so we can take a longer request here because there's a lot that I'm asking it to do, but it's going to be able to handle this all for us. All right. Okay, so I need to finish, then revert the merge, reopen it, flip labels, kick the orchestrator, and monitor. All right, yeah, thank you for taking care of all of that, Claude. All right, and then where are we at with Archon here? Okay, so you are right, cross-process resume works. Implication, the reproduction diagnosis may be wrong. The previous reproduction concluded the bug was based on reading a unit test that asserted, okay, but that assertion is actually correct behavior, just blah, 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 whatever. My test proves the session threading is correct. So either 1208 isn't actually a bug, or 1208 is real, but the root cause is elsewhere. Maybe the work tree is getting removed before the approval. That actually could be. So the current working directory doesn't exist. Okay. Okay, so my question is, why didn't the issue reproduction workflow test with a real Archon piv loop run? I think there's something in the prompting for the workflow we'd have to fix here where we need it to like actually be end to end. Like it should really take its time with a real, like actually doing reproduction, not just doing code-based analysis. Like it should have invoked the Archon piv loop. So I want you to delete the comment on the GitHub issue, fix this in the reproduction workflow, and then invoke it again with the Archon CLI. And I want you to monitor it to make sure that it is actually invoking the CLI, like using the Archon piv loop to test human approvals and make sure that the approval is able to work more than a couple of iterations. So basically like testing the issue with a real workflow. All right. Wow, it's taking a long time to transcribe. There we go. Okay. This conversation might hit a memory compaction soon, though, unfortunately. All right. So yeah, it confirmed what I thought. Like, it's a little dangerous because if I had actually moved forward with this fix here, I would have made Archon not work quite as well just to fix the problem that might not be a real problem. I mean, this does look legitimate though. Need fresh session. I mean, this actually looks right. I'm like looking at the code here. Start iteration equals 2. Loop gate. Oh, you know what? I mean, I think I literally know how I'd fix this manually myself, but I'm gonna use this as an example for Archon. I want it to figure it out correctly here, because that'll give me more confidence in the workflow. So sorry for the little bit of like silence there. I'm just like my gears are turning in my head. Like I literally know how I'd fix this myself without a coding agent, but yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Hopefully it'll work this time. And I think it deleted the comment now. Let me refresh and make sure. So, yeah, for this guy, if you're watching the stream right now, ignore the comments until I get this addressed. This is the guinea pig issue. All right. Let's go back to the dark factory. Okay, yeah, still fixing the workflow here. All right. So yeah, while we do that, I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple more questions in the chat. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's right. The same people that built Oh My Codex and OpenCode, they're the ones who rewrote the Leak Claude harness into Python, and then they ported it into Rust, didn't they? Aren't they the ones that turned it into Rust? I don't remember the exact name of the repo, so I can't pull it up right now unless someone remembers. All right. The architecture for the Dark Factory is sound and implemented. I believe what comes next is extending the agentic specifications and workflows to explicitly execute specific software engineering practices. Okay, I appreciate the thought there. You know, I've tried to build some of those practices in already. I'm sure there's a million ways to make it better though. I mean, like you guys are seeing right now, it's constantly the case that like as I'm building this out initially, there's a lot of work to be done to make the workflows truly reliable. And so, I mean, that's kind of the reality of it right now is until I've really iterated on things, it's going to look a little bit like a mess. We're going to have these issues come up where certain things aren't working and it tries to move on when it really shouldn't, and we have to fix that and adjust the prompting. But we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. So I'm just kind of showing you guys like what it looks like for real. Like this isn't just the polished thing in a YouTube video. This is let's build this live, and let's actually take a look at this workflow as it runs now. So yet again, it decided it doesn't need to start the front end and the back end, which is good because it's just going to use the CLI. And we're telling it like actually run the Archon piv loop. Let's make sure that it actually does that. So it's going to, in our repo here, it's going to monitor, waiting for reproduce to start. Claw Code. Yeah, I think that's the name of it. The Rust port of Claude Code. Claw Code. Yes. I don't. Yeah. Here it is. This is the guy. Same one, same dude that built Oh My OpenCode and Oh My Codex. Yep. And then there's another contributor. Who's this guy? Oh yeah, he's the other one. Yep, they're both in sale. Cool. All right. Let's see. I wonder why people are not joining your live stream, man. But you'll find them on those hype live streams, like Alex. Yeah, you're doing good stuff for the community. So thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. And I mean, like, yes, I don't have like an insane number of people on the live stream here, but for the 133 of you that are here right now, I'm very, very grateful. Like, I'm happy with that, 100%. I know that there are some other people that are maybe more like, I don't know if you'd call them hype merchants, whatever. I mean, they're doing good things too, but I think one of the biggest reasons they have more people on the stream is because they're doing more like beginner friendly things. Like I'm really trying to push the limits of what is possible with coding agents, with the harness engineering, with Archon and the Dark Factory, and it gets kind of technical. And so it takes a more specific audience to like really resonate with the content, and that's something that I'm willing to accept. Like that's just who I am, as more of a technical person wanting to really be on the forefront. I don't want to be that person that's just saying like, oh, here are these 5 new use cases for OpenClaw every single week. I think there is value in that for certain people, but for me personally, I find more fulfillment, and I am of the opinion that like what I'm doing is really a bigger work, or however you'd want to word it exactly. So yeah, no shade on anyone that is doing more like covering the AI news or just like a ton of hype around OpenClaw. Like I get it, and it's a good business model for them, and there are people that really want that stuff. But this is where I want to be right now, doing things with Archon and the Dark Factory, and seeing like what is the future of AI coding going to be. Let's be the first one to build it, right? Like Archon is the first open source agent harness. The Dark Factory is the first public experiment really ever of doing something where we're giving the reins of a code base entirely to a coding agent and having no human in the loop. So yeah, doubling down on Archon will take you there. I mean, that's the plan. That is the plan. I'm doubling down. I'm killing it. Yeah, I appreciate it, Anthony. Thank you. Cool. Just had some barbecue, came out of the sauna, and live stream is on. What a day. Awesome, Rasmus. Very cool. And now you're making me hungry. We are more advanced viewers. I mean, you could say that. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's probably advanced people that are in the OpenClaw stuff too, but yeah, definitely that you guys have more of an aptitude for pushing the limits with me, right? Yeah. Cool. Super appreciate what you're doing with Archon and the Dark Factory. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, thank you very much. Glad to be here with all of you guys. Cool. Things like solid, data-driven, test-driven development, that level of engineering. That's the level of software practices that I meant. Yeah, so, well, 2 things there. One is a lot of those practices like KISS and dry and solid, like large language models, coding agents, they know that already. So you don't really need to like explicitly call it out unless you want to be specific about like what that looks like for our process or our code base. But then like just like generally, well, I guess like test-driven development specifically is one thing that I have thought about building into the Dark Factory. I just don't know exactly how I'd set that up, but I would be interested in doing that. So yeah, I appreciate your thoughts there. All right. Let's see. Where are the other comments coming from, if not from YouTube? They are all from YouTube. Everything that I've shared and addressed here are coming right from YouTube. I'm not like streaming to Twitch or something as well. All right. People who are non-developers at my company who are using MCP servers and such are getting familiar. Found your YouTube because of the Obsidian Note video. That's cool to hear. Yeah. So once in a while, I do more beginner-friendly content, like talking about Carpathi's knowledge bases or just like building second brains. That content definitely does better. Unfortunately, the more technical you get with YouTube content, the less of an audience there is. And again, that's something that I've just had to accept. My channel's not going to be as big as some of those other ones out there because I am focusing on pushing the limits of AI in ways that like not everyone resonates with or like fully grasps yet. Okay, sorry, that sounded a little cocky. I didn't mean to put it that way. I just meant like I'm constantly looking to where is AI coding heading? Let's build, let's experiment. And a lot of really powerful things have come from that, like Archon. I would say Archon is no longer an experiment. It started as an experiment. Now it's like, this tool is legit. Like, you can use this right now to package up any workflow. But it definitely means that, like, I'm not basing my content around things that are always, like, proven and, like, the next hype thing. I guess that's a better way to put it. But then when I do focus on something that is the hype thing, then of course the video does better. So it's a give and take. I guess I try to have a balance. So like sometimes I do want to cover like the hype thing once in a while at least. Because I mean, a lot of them are hype for a reason, right? Sean said, if you're not already in Dynamis, you should be. I appreciate it, Sean. Yeah, actually, let me pop up Dynamis really quick here because I haven't even talked about it all on our live stream. But yeah, Dynamis is my AI community for people that want to really go deep with me. So I do weekly workshops. I have 3 courses in the Dynamis community now. I have the AI Agent Mastery course. I have the Agentic Coding course, covering all my principles for agentic engineering. And then I recently released the Second Brain Bootcamp. So it is a 3-hour sort of mini course in the Dynamis community showing you how to build your own second brain completely from scratch. So I did it as a full 4-hour workshop live in the community. It was super exciting, went really well. And then I packaged it up and edited it down into a polished 3-hour version in the community. So I save at least 20 hours, not even exaggerating, 20 hours a week with my second brain. I show you all of my systems, how to build it completely from scratch. So if you're interested in being a part of a community, people sharing amazing ideas like every single day, and then all of our workshops and courses, check out the link I just put in the chat. I'd love to see you in the community. We've had a lot of growth in the last month, especially because of the second brain stuff and everything I'm doing with Archon. So I'm also planning an Archon workshop this Friday. So a little bit of teaser for you guys already in the community. I'm going to be doing an Archon sort of like masterclass on building your own workflows and taking advantage of all the features of Archon that I haven't like covered fully on my YouTube channel. So I always give away a ton of things for free on YouTube, but go even deeper in Dynamis. That's how I always like to pull it. So yeah, I'd love to see you in the community. All right. Cool. This is on another level, not the average YouTuber. Dynamis is the bomb. I appreciate it a lot, John. Thank you very much. Cool. On January 12th, Indie Dev Dan introduced the visionary concept, Z-Threads, zero-touch deployment as a main North Star in AI. 3 months later, cold delivered. That's cool. I didn't even know. I mean, I follow Indie Dev Dan at least a little bit, but I'm not like watching every single one of his videos. But I mean, he's definitely a visionary kind of guy. But that's cool that I ended up building something that he described. I'm sure he's working on something like it as well. He's always up to something. Cool. Rasmus said, great value, more coming. Can't recommend Dynamis enough. Changed my life. I appreciate it a lot, Rasmus. Thank you. Cool. New here. Well, welcome. This live stream thing is a great idea. Love to see how you work with AI. Hope I can learn from that. I appreciate it. Hope you can too. Yeah. And if you ever have any questions for anything that comes up for my process, if you want to learn more about Archon, like I'm always answering questions in YouTube. And then, of course, going even deeper in Dynamis. I'm in the community constantly every single day. And not only do we have weekly workshops on Fridays, but I also have events hosted pretty much every single day for community hangouts, just getting together, talking about the latest in the space, and office hours to answer all your questions. Like the support you need, you're going to find it. All right. Cool. So I'm going to do one last check over things here, but I think I might have to just continue to let this run. The Archon workflow is finally running for a while, which is a really good sign. So if we go to reproduce issue, okay, this is good. Now we're actually invoking workflows. Let's see. Yeah, okay, yep, so we're actually invoking the workflow now. Thank goodness. It was, I don't know why it wasn't really reproducing things properly before, but now we are good. So we're evolving the workflow to a point where we'll actually get a test with the human in the loop workflow. We're going to really see if we can reproduce this issue or not. So this is looking good. And then the other thing that I wanted to check on is our dark factory really quick. Oh, of course it stopped for approval. That's annoying. There's this bug in Claude Code, or at least I think it's a bug, where even with bypass permission on, sometimes it like asks me for permission to do things. That's really annoying. So we're not really that far in this step right here yet. But anyway, I'm gonna keep iterating on this pull request as an example to make sure that my workflow like actually validates things properly, and really does the browser automation testing. So cool. All right. And yeah, within the Dynamis community, Rasmus also hosts an Archon feedback weekly event. So if you want to shape the future of Archon, Dynamis is the place to be. And of course, there's a section in the community dedicated to Archon, where I'm reading your guys' suggestions. There's quite a few things that have come from the Dynamis community that I have already implemented directly into Archon. So of course I'm looking at the issue list constantly. I mean, I'm literally building a system live with you guys to help me look at all of these issues. But it's certainly the feedback in Dynamis that shapes the direction of Archon the most, because we're having lively discussions around it every single week. So yeah. All right, well, I don't know how much longer this workflow is going to take. I think this is actually a pretty good stopping point for the live stream, because I've already been streaming for almost 2.5 hours now. Want to make sure I protect my voice, but yeah, I'm literally just going to keep chugging along with this after the stream here. So just giving you guys an inside scoop on what it looks like to work on Archon, building workflows, and working on the Dark Factory as well. So basically what's going to happen for the Dark Factory is I just need to refine the workflows, and then it's going to be ready to go public. So like you guys have seen here, things aren't quite perfect, but we have the infrastructure. Like you guys have watched it from start to end, creating issues, watching them get triaged, watching them go to in progress, and seeing the pull request created, and then seeing the validate run on it. The validate is what broke right now, but it's just that last step that we're working on correcting, and then we're going to get to the point where we have things running end to end with those deployments happening every 10 minutes as well to the live site. So we're getting there. We're getting there. More live streams coming soon that I want to be doing for the Dark Factory and Archon. All right. So yeah, let me go ahead and switch to the full frame here. Go ahead and close things off. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Those of you who participated with questions and suggestions and everything as well, I always appreciate it a lot. And yeah, we had a really solid attendance. Like I did absolutely no advertising for this live stream. Still had over 100 people the whole time. And then also I am planning on getting on a live stream cadence, so that'll probably get more people in as well. Because if I just set an expectation, like every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever, I'll be doing live streams. Still have to figure out my schedule, but to be honest, I like doing live streams more than I like doing YouTube content, like creating videos and shorts. I like both, of course, but live streams are always the most fun for me. So hope to do a lot more of these very, very soon here. Already done like 3 or 4 in the last couple of weeks here. So definitely planning on keeping it up. So yeah, with that, I appreciate all of you guys being here, following along with everything with the Dark Factory and Archon. More content coming soon in YouTube and in the Dynamis community. Hope that you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you all around. Take care, everyone.